The summer breeze carried the scent of barbecue and freshly cut grass across my mother-in-law's backyard as our annual family reunion descended into chaos. My sister-in-law, Victoria, stood in the center of the gathering, holding my 12-year-old daughter Emma's pearl necklace, a gift from their grandmother on her deathbed. "These are family heirlooms," Victoria announced, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "They belong to real family members. My children have pure Mason blood. Yours don't." I watched helplessly as my daughter's eyes filled with tears. The pearls had been her most treasured possession, a final gift from the grandmother who loved her unconditionally. Now, Victoria was tearing them away, along with the other jewelry Grandma Mason had given my children before she passed. "You can't do this," I said, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. "Those were gifts from Grandma Mason. She gave them to my children personally." Victoria's laugh was sharp and cruel. "Oh, please, Margaret, you really think some verbal promise matters? I found Grandma's old will. All family jewelry goes to blood descendants. Your adopted brats don't qualify." My husband James stood frozen beside me, caught between his sister's viciousness and his children's pain. We'd adopted Emma and her brother, Michael, as infants after years of fertility struggles. Grandma Mason had welcomed them with open arms, never once treating them differently from Victoria's biological children. "That's enough, Victoria." James finally spoke up, but his voice lacked conviction. He'd always struggled to stand up to his domineering older sister. "No, it's not enough," Victoria snapped. "I'm tired of pretending these children deserve our family's legacy. My kids are the true heirs." She turned to her teenagers, Jessica and Bradley, who stood smugly nearby. "Here, darling, this pearl set belongs to you now." I watched in horror as she fastened my daughter's necklace around Jessica's throat. The 15-year-old preened, shooting Emma a triumphant look. Bradley was already pawing through the box of watches and cufflinks that had been given to Michael. The other relatives shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Victoria had ruled the family ever since their parents passed, her force of personality steamrolling anyone who dared oppose her. But as I watched my children's hearts break, something inside me hardened into steel. "You have no idea what you're doing," I said quietly. Victoria barely spared me a glance, too busy distributing my children's inheritance to her precious offspring. "Oh," she smirked. "And what exactly am I doing, Margaret? Besides ensuring family heirlooms stay with real family?" I met her gaze steadily. "Making the biggest mistake of your life." She laughed again, but this time I heard a flicker of uncertainty. She'd expected me to break down, to cause a scene. My calm clearly unnerved her. "James, control your wife," she snapped. "She's embarrassing herself." But I was already gathering my family to leave. "Come on, kids," I said gently. "We're going home." "That's right, run away," Victoria called after us. "And don't expect to be welcomed at any more family events. These heirlooms are where they belong now, with real Masons." As we drove home, Emma sobbed quietly in the backseat while Michael stared sternly out the window. James kept apologizing, saying we'd figure something out, but I barely heard him. My mind was already racing ahead, remembering the conversation I had with Grandma Mason just 2 weeks before she died. "My lawyer has everything in order," she told me, her wise eyes twinkling. "Victoria thinks she knows everything, but she's in for quite a surprise. You just remember, family isn't about blood. It's about love." I hadn't understood then, but now, watching my daughter's tear-stained face in the rearview mirror, I knew exactly what the old woman had meant. Victoria had no idea what was coming. That evening, after putting the kids to bed with extra hugs and promises that everything would be okay, I made a phone call to Mr. Patterson, Grandma Mason's longtime attorney. His response was exactly what I'd hoped for. "I was wondering when this would happen," he said grimly. "I think it's time we show Victoria the real will, don't you?" I smiled into the phone, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. "Yes, Mr. Patterson. I think it's definitely time." Victoria had just declared war on my children, thinking she held all the cards. But Grandma Mason had taught me well. Always be prepared and never let anyone mistake your kindness for weakness. The real battle was just beginning, and this time, I wasn't going to back down. The next morning, I sat in Mr. Patterson's office, surrounded by leather-bound law books and the comforting scent of old paper. He pulled out a thick manila envelope sealed with the law firm's official stamp. Elizabeth Mason was a remarkable woman, he said, carefully extracting the documents. She knew exactly how Victoria would react when she passed. That's why she took such precise measures. I leaned forward as he spread out the paperwork. There it was, Grandma Mason's true will, properly notarized and filed with the court. My hands trembled slightly as I read the first page. This is very different from what Victoria claims to have found, I observed. Mr. Patterson nodded grimly. That's because what Victoria has is an old draft from 10 years ago. Elizabeth updated her will shortly after your children's adoption. She was very specific about her wishes. The words on the page made my heart swell. I, Elizabeth Mason, being of sound mind, declare that all my grandchildren, both biological and adopted, shall share equally in my estate. Blood relation is not and never has been a determining factor in my definition of family. There's more, Mr. Patterson said, turning to the next page. A special provision regarding the family jewelry. I read on, a smile spreading across my face. Grandma Mason hadn't just included my children in her will. She'd specifically protected them from exactly this situation. The jewelry Victoria had seized wasn't just meant for my children. It was legally bound to them through an irrevocable trust. So Victoria has essentially committed theft, I said quietly. Precisely. Mr. Patterson's expression was stern. And given that these items are valued at over $50,000, we're talking about grand larceny. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Jessica wore Emma's pearls to church today. Everyone said they looked so much better on a real Mason. I showed the message to Mr. Patterson. He frowned, adding it to his growing file of evidence. Shall we proceed with the legal notifications? I thought about Emma's tears, Michael's quiet hurt, and years of Victoria's subtle and not-so-subtle jabs at my children's adoption status. Yes, I said firmly. It's time. The next day, Victoria received official correspondence from Mr. Patterson's firm. I wasn't there to see her reaction, but James told me she called him screaming, her voice hitting octaves he didn't know existed. This is ridiculous, she shrieked through the phone. Some trumped-up legal nonsense won't change the fact that my children are the real heirs. But her bravado crumbled when the second letter arrived, this one from the district attorney's office. Grand larceny charges weren't something even Victoria could bulldoze her way through. She showed up at our house that evening, makeup slightly smeared, clutching the jewelry box. This is emotional manipulation, she accused, thrusting the box at me. You're using legal tricks to steal my children's inheritance. I took the box calmly, checking that everything was accounted for. No, Victoria, I'm enforcing Grandma's actual wishes, the ones she put in writing legally, specifically to prevent this exact situation. She was old, Victoria snapped. She didn't know what she was doing. Actually, I replied, she knew exactly what she was doing. Would you like to see the video she recorded with her will? Victoria's face went pale. What video? I pulled out my tablet, queuing up the footage Mr. Patterson had provided. There was Grandma Mason, sharp as ever in her favorite blue sweater, speaking directly to the camera. If you're watching this, it means Victoria has tried to exclude my adopted grandchildren from their inheritance. Victoria, dear, I love you, but your obsession with blood relations stops here. Emma and Michael are Masons in every way that matters. The jewelry I gave them is legally theirs. And if you've tried to take it, well, I'm sure Mr. Patterson has already explained the consequences. Victoria sank onto our couch, her carefully constructed superiority crumbling. You planned this. You and Grandma, you set me up. No, I corrected her. Grandma simply knew you well enough to protect all her grandchildren from your prejudice. The only person who set you up was you. She left shortly after, but not before trying one last manipulation. If you do this, if you humiliate me legally, you'll destroy this family. I looked at her steadily. You did that yourself the moment you decided my children weren't real family members. Now please leave. Emma and Michael need to clean their jewelry before school tomorrow. Once she was gone, I called the kids downstairs. Emma's eyes lit up at the sight of her pearls. Michael reverently reclaimed the watch set his grandmother had given him. As they clutched their restored treasures, I shared the video of their great-grandmother, watching their faces as they heard her fierce defense of their place in the family. See, I told them, pulling them close. You were always real Masons, Grandma made sure of it. That night, as I tucked Emma into bed, she fingered her pearls thoughtfully. Mom, she whispered, Do you think Aunt Victoria will ever accept us? I smoothed her hair back, choosing my words carefully. I don't know, sweetheart. But what I do know is that you don't need her acceptance. You have something much more powerful, Grandma's love, set in stone, and law. The next phase of the battle was about to begin. But for now, watching my daughter drift off to sleep wearing her rightful inheritance, I felt nothing but peace. Victoria had chosen warfare over family, but she'd learned the hard way that love, real love, was the strongest bloodline of all. The fallout from Victoria's actions rippled through the family like waves in a disturbed pond. Word spread quickly about Grandma Mason's video will and Victoria's attempted theft. The relatives who had stood silently during the reunion began reaching out, offering apologies and support. We should have spoken up, my mother-in-law admitted during a quiet lunch. Victoria's always been forceful, but this time she went too far. Elizabeth would be horrified by what she tried to do. Even Victoria's husband Tom contacted us privately. The kids miss their cousins, he said, sounding tired. Victoria's pride is making everyone miserable. Jessica tried to wear the pearls to school yesterday and Victoria wouldn't let her, said they were tainted now. I focused on helping Emma and Michael process everything. We had long talks about family, identity, and the different kinds of strength. Watching them regain their confidence was like seeing flowers turn toward the sun. You know what's funny? Michael said one evening, carefully cleaning his great-grandmother's watch. Aunt Victoria kept saying we weren't real Masons, but Grandma made sure we were the ones who really understood what being a Mason means. The legal consequences caught up with Victoria in waves. First came the formal censure from the probate court, then the mandatory ethics classes she had to attend as part of her agreement to avoid criminal charges. Mr. Patterson had been thorough in documenting everything. Victoria's own children began questioning her behavior. Jessica, perhaps feeling guilty about her role in hurting Emma, reached out via text. I'm sorry I wore your necklace. Mom said it was okay. But I knew it wasn't. Grandma gave those to you. I just wanted Mom to be proud of me. The message led to a careful reconciliation between the cousins. Without Victoria's influence, they remembered the friendship they shared before all this began. Bradley started inviting Michael to his soccer games again. Jessica and Emma cautiously resumed their tradition of weekend sleepovers. Victoria, however, remained entrenched in her bitterness. She stopped attending family functions, claiming she couldn't bear to watch her niece and nephew flaunt their victory. When she did show up, she maintained a cold silence, broken only by occasional passive-aggressive comments. At least my children know their real heritage, she muttered during Thanksgiving dinner, loud enough for everyone to hear. I watched Emma stiffen, but before I could respond, Jessica surprised everyone. Mom, stop it. Grandma made it clear. Emma and Michael are our heritage. Victoria left the table in tears, but something had shifted. Her own children were rejecting her prejudices, choosing love over her narrow definition of family. The final breakthrough came unexpectedly, almost a year after the initial confrontation. While cleaning out some old boxes, Emma found a letter from Grandma Mason, written just before she passed. My dearest granddaughter, family isn't in the blood. It's in the heart. The pearls I gave you aren't just jewelry. They're a reminder that you are a Mason through and through. Your strength isn't in your DNA. It's in how you love, how you forgive, and how you stand up for what's right. Victoria may need time to understand this, but you, my sweet girl, have always known it. Emma shared the letter at the next family gathering. Victoria, who had been dragged there by Tom, sat silently as it was read aloud. I watched her face carefully, seeing something crack in her carefully maintained facade. Later that evening, she approached Emma hesitantly. I found something, she said, pulling out an old photograph. It's Grandma, holding you the day you came home. She had the same look she had when Jessica was born. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was a start. Victoria began making small efforts, asking about the kids' activities, acknowledging their achievements, even defending them when a distant relative made a thoughtless comment about adoption. The family jewelry stayed where it belonged, with the grandchildren Grandma Mason had chosen. Emma wore her pearls proudly, no longer worried about proving her right to them. Michael's watch collection became a talking point that eventually helped him and Victoria bond over their shared interest in antiques. Looking back now, I realized Grandma Mason's true gift wasn't just the jewelry or the ironclad will. It was the lesson she taught all of us about real family strength. Victoria had tried to define family through blood, But in the end, love proved to be the stronger tie. You know what, Mom? Emma said recently, helping me sort through old family photos. I think Grandma knew this would happen. Not just Victoria taking the jewelry, but all of it, the fight, the healing, everything. She knew we needed to learn what family really means. Looking at my daughter, confidently wearing her great-grandmother's pearls while helping preserve family memories, I knew she was right. Some lessons can only be learned through adversity, and some bonds grow stronger for having been tested. Victoria may have started this journey thinking she was protecting her family's legacy, but in the end she learned what that legacy truly meant, not blood, not jewelry, but the capacity to grow, to love, and to become better than we were before.